change? Did it
I
get rid of the
remember.
minister?
I remember.
Karen Gensler, the one that was with his Oh, okay.
Green card. But if you don't know, you don't know.
We have everybody take their seats, please. We're getting ready to roll.
Hello, Maddie. How are you? Is that a picture? I can't see that way back here.
Good, how are you doing?
You want more? Okay.
How you doing?
Okay, I have to say, waiting 15 minutes really did pay off, because if we started at 2, there were too many empty seats over here, and all of a sudden, everybody got rushing through at the last moment. So, good afternoon and welcome. I want to start by just acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded land of the Mi'kmaq people. We are all treaty people that are governed by treaties of peace and friendship. We are also in a province that is governed by, or that has over a 400-year presence of African and Nova Scotian people, of African culture in Canada, and the birthplace of African culture here in our province and country. So welcome, one and all. Good afternoon, MP Fillmore, MLA Susie Hansen, Executive Director of the Black Cultural Center, Mr. Russell Gross, Executive Director of the African Canadian Services Branch, Mr. Paul Ash, and I want to thank you both of you and Russell for your support in making this happen and allowing folks to tell the story and to learn about the story of the preschool. 1963, what a turbulent time in history the 60s were. The fight for equality in housing, education, and employment were at the forefront of everyday life in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and across our country. This city has always kind of punched above its weight class when it comes to making change and for setting the pace for the rest of the country. And it was no different when we talk about the creation of the preschool. If I talk about individuals like James R. Johnston, Dr. Carrie Bess, William Hall, Dr. Doreen Lewis, George Dixon, those names all come to mind when I talk about history makers in Nova Scotia. But who would have ever conceived the idea of an interracial preschool in the center of Halifax at that time? Who could imagine that black and white folks would get together to discuss something that would be looked at as so radical then? Talk about being ahead of your time. Understanding that in 1963, it was the right time and the right place to make it happen. That's what we're here to celebrate and acknowledge today, and to hopefully include in our history books moving forward. A piece of our collective history, long forgotten, and even less spoken about in 2023. But one that's been the role model for huge achievements in the backdrop for the fight for civil rights movement. It predates the 4+ program and provided inner city children with the concepts and the learning outcomes that would become part of every child's learning moving forward. So good afternoon and welcome.
I'm just going to add a little quote that came from Catherine Barrow, who was one of the co-founders of the preschool, and it just kind of comes from what Craig was saying about the history. In 1962, Reverend and Mrs. Charles Coleman came to Cornwallis Street Baptist Church, the Negro church around the corner from our church. We found that our dreams and our attitudes were much the same. A preschool for 4-year-old children was too big a project for one church to tackle alone. But if we worked together, it would not only be possible, but far more effective.
So, I'm Craig Smith, and a product of the preschool. And I'm joined here on the podium with another former student of the preschool, Betty Strudno. Betty's going to tell you a little bit about her time and journey in the preschool.
I will be very
And she's
brief.
going to try not to cry.
I was one of the students in the 1965-66 class. So we were shortly, the program had just recently started. I consider myself one of the poster children for the program. I am the young girl in the red turtleneck on the bottom of the banner closest to me, along with April States, who is sitting in the back there. So we just kind of had a little moment whereby we haven't seen each other since high school, and it was kind of a nice little surprise to see her. So welcome. I'm glad everybody is here to hear about our story and the story of the preschool.
So I too was a former student at the preschool, 66, 67. And not only myself, my older brother Mark was in the first class, and then my brother Thane preceded me as well. And so there's 3 Smiths that were all there. And growing up and attending the Cornwallis Street Baptist Church, it only makes sense that we would see that church come together with Brunswick Street United. There's been such a long history of a relationship there. You know, when we were at Alexander School, Community YMCA was in the basement of Brunswick Street United Church. So there may have been kids that were going to Cornwallis Street, but they were going for their fun over at Brunswick Street United Church. So there was a connection that was there, in recreation and sporting. So there was a connection that was already there and already formed. And so it only makes sense that you would see those 2 groups come together and to be able to say, hey, let's do something for the betterment of all the children that are in the community, regardless of what color they are.
And just before we move on to our slideshows, I do want to thank Joseph House School for allowing us to use the facilities today to put this on.
Slideshow? Should you bring your attention?
That's you?
to introduce an amazing group of women to all of you. These are some of the strongest, most determined women that I have worked with in my long career of working with people in the public. I would like to introduce Myra Bailey, Iona Duncan States, Heather Hackett, Artis Downing,
Barrow.
Okay, thanks, you two. So the group that Betty was introducing, we call ourselves the Brunswick Cornwallis Preschool Teachers Group, and Cheryl Grant is also part of that group, and we've been kind of meeting over the last 2 years to try to work towards putting something like this on, so we're all very grateful to the Black Cultural Center and to the Department of Education who helped us with this. So, I'm going to read something. We have been born into a situation which is utterly sinful. And right here in Halifax this year, we are on the front lines of history. The future of the world rests directly upon what you and I do here. So I think my mother wrote that, and she did a lot of writing. She left a lot of notes, articles, letters, and I found that in one of her little journals. And so there's no date on it, there's nothing else with it. So I like to imagine that that's something that she wrote down to say at something about the start of the preschool. And it feels like those words are very relevant today too. So, so my mother, she died about 2.5 years ago, and it was in going through her papers and stuff that we realized that there was a bigger story to the preschool than we had sort of imagined. We all knew about the preschool. I was in the first year with Mark Smith, Greg's brother, and also Faith Adams, and a bunch of people. And so my sister went to the preschool, so we always knew it was a very important thing, and that it was that our mother felt very passionate about this her whole life, and it really set her on a path of being a lifelong social justice community activist. And so I just have some thank yous to people who really kind of helped in this process of getting us here today. And so the first person is my sister Elizabeth, who actually went through all of my mom's stuff and was sending things to me, and that was a big discovery. And I also want to say that my experience of working with the group of women over the last 2 years has been a deeply moving experience for me, and so I also want to just like really thank you as a group that it's been like very important for me and really connected me to my mom, and anyway, just very special. Some of the people that have really helped me in finding these women. So Rhonda Britton, Reverend at New Horizons Church, Tara Taylor, Beverly Gray was one of the first people that I met, and the first thing Beverly said to me when she was introduced to me, she said, "I used to babysit you." And so that was a pretty exciting moment. And so it was through Beverly that I connected with Muriel and Myra Bailey and Iona States and the Coleman's daughter, Iretta, down in the southern states. Also want to thank George Elliott Clark, who was very extremely enthusiastic when we sent him the photos, and he sort of helped propel us on this journey. Sylvia Hamilton and Sylvia Paris at the DBDLI, and Juanita Peters and the Africville Museum were very supportive in our early process. I also want to really thank Sarah Wallace at the United Church Archives in Sackville, New Brunswick, and she's here today. And it was Sarah who actually has found our only record of the preschool reports for all of the years. So she went through all of them. All of the annual reports from Brunswick Street United Church, and discovered that there was actually, sometimes they're only a paragraph, but there was something there for almost every year, and that's a big part of our record now of that history. I also want to thank whoever it was that left the box at Brunswick Street that made its way to the archives too, because as you probably know, Brunswick Street United Church burnt down in '79, and then also New Horizons had a flood. So there is a lack of records for the preschool, and so we've also been trying to recreate them as much as we can. Some other people that were really instrumental, Leslie Day, George Gray, Carla Williams, and Julia Williams, Lillian Lopi, Hazel Andrews and her daughter Sharon Bajarman, Sharon Borden-Colley, and all the people on the social media platform that shared stories and identified people in the photos. I also want to really thank Maxine Goff, who was pretty instrumental for Cheryl and I to learn more about the earlier history. And but also I want to share with you one of the most amazing days for me in this adventure, and that was the day I met Darcel. So Darcel, do you want to come up and share a moment together as we share this story? I did ask her before, she did agree. Reluctantly. So it was actually Juanita Peters who said, you need to talk to Leslie Day. And so I eventually went to see Leslie, and while I was there, I had a slide in the collection that was written on it, Rose Adams, Halifax. It was from the 70s, and it was in our house in Toronto. And so I asked Leslie, do you know Rose Adams? And she said, yes, she's just down the street, so let's just go. So we did.
It was one of those serendipitous moments. Unfortunately, my mother hadn't been feeling well that day, and my sister called, and we were trying to, coordinate whether or not to take her to a doctor, and I left work early. So I showed up at the house, and Mom was there, and we were taking care of her, and on the door, and, there's Anne. And she's there with Leslie, and we just, it was like Anne just showed up at the very right moment. It actually got Mom's mind off of being ill, for one thing, and she had pictures, she had all these memories, and just blowing our minds also. I mean, really, just for us, it was like one of those moments where some things that you've always had questions about, they got answered. One of the things that I know for me, growing up in Halifax, I didn't have a lot of pictures of myself. And, cameras did not come by very easy. So to see a picture of myself as a baby, that was remarkable. I can't even explain how I felt when I saw myself. And I recognized myself, which was really just something that I'll never forget. And it just got me thinking about others who might have wondered about themselves when they were 2, 3, 4 years old and with their records. And it sort of propelled us on our big journey. It wasn't a little journey. It's been 2 years. It doesn't feel like 2 years, to tell you the truth. It feels a lot shorter. It's like we just met, but we became I'll say the word family. I've gained so many aunties. And we laughed together, joked together, ate together. It's been beautiful. So, we're looking for the next chapter, looking forward to seeing these memories happen in Dartmouth, for everyone else to see. And, it's just been a wonderful journey.
And also I'd like to just acknowledge the work that Darcel has done in order to make this event happen. And we would not be here without Darcel. I'm going to say that. Her position, I can't even tell you what her job title is. I always have to look. Maybe you can say what your job title is.
Curriculum consultant, just curriculum consultant. You just happen to be a graduate of the preschool. And, yeah.
And so it was Darcel's enthusiasm that really got the Department of Ed involved and committed to supporting this. And so thank you, Darcel. Okay. So there's one other person I want to kind of bring up here to share the podium with me, who's been side-by-side traveler in my life and also on this project, and that's Cheryl Grant. And so I've known Cheryl since I was 2 years old, and Cheryl was a close friend of my older sister, Chris, and they're the same age. Birthdays very close together, and we all met in 1961, and that's when our moms met. And so, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, as both Anne and Darcel have said, this has really been a journey. And we've had the pleasure of meeting these wonderful women and interviewing them. So our long-term goal is to take some of the film that you're going to see later today and knit it together into a bigger film. That's our big goal. And, you know, I mean, as the more we talk and the more we dig, the bigger a story it gets. And one of the things we discovered is that almost everybody we interviewed was a product of the segregated school system. And which really sort of brings to a point how revolutionary it was an idea in the 60s to have an integrated school. So this is not the end of the journey. We have many more things to do, and hopefully the film will be the end result.
Yes, yeah. And just before I leave, I just also want to acknowledge and thank Rose Adams, who came to some of our early meetings and was involved with the preschool back then, and has been an important part of this story too. So thank you, Rose. So what's coming next is you're going to see a few clips of videos, and I just want to say, as a filmmaker, they're not finished, they're not mixed, sound mixed, or color corrected, so I always have an issue about showing things kind of, you know, not when they're totally done, but I know it's important to show them. And the first piece that you're going to see is actually from my very first visit with one of these wonderful women who knew my mom, and that's Muriel. She was Desmond then, now she's Cromwell. And it was our first visit, and she told me this amazing story about how she met my mom. And there will be animation as part of this story, but it's still in process. So we will have the next video. Thank you.
Do you remember that photo? No, I don't. Not right now, I don't.
But that's you, right?
Yes.
It's me.
That's you?
Yeah, we're in a photo together. You were about to tell me how you met my mom.
Every Sunday, I used to take the girls and my son, Douglas, to classical music. That's good for children, to learn about different instruments and different voices. You know, so I just took the kids one day and walked across the commons. She was looking out her window where you guys lived on Windsor.
So she would see you walking by.
Every Sunday, yeah. Because we came across the common. And one Sunday she asked another woman, wonder who I was, be doing this every Sunday. She phoned around to find out who was that woman walking with two little girls. I forget who it was, but I think it was someone from Cornwall Street. And I got this phone call, that's how I got in touch with, your mother got in touch with me. She asked me, was I Muriel? And I told her yes. She wanted to meet with me, but she wanted to discuss something with a daycare. So I met her maybe the next day or something at her house, all afternoon.
You spent all afternoon together?
Yeah, and I sat there and talked and talked. And most of the conversation was
Right.
organized in the school.
And she asked you if you wanted to work at the preschool.
I told her yes, I would love to do that. It happens all so fast. It just seemed like we were doing that for years. We hardly knew one another, but we made friends quickly, really. I was quite surprised. That was really nice, how we got joined together like that. Because she knew I trusted her, and she trusted me.
And the next video clip we'd like to show is Iona's story.
They enjoyed each other. Some of them you see walking along holding hands, which was really cute, and hugging, and helping each other with having the story times together, puzzles. They really enjoyed each other as individuals and not as different colors. The one that I made up, it was from another tune, because we talked about the snowflakes. So the tune went like this. From up in the sky, 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 down to the ground, ground, ground. See the flakes fall, fall, fall. Covers the ground, ground, ground. You know, that was, and we do like this. I find the importance of the preschool was that we were helping children to be able to deal with situations that may come in their life, whether they be black or white. For instance, for a black child, to be able to cope with someone looking at them as if they're different when they're not. And also a white child who has the same respect for a black child as they would want the black child to have for them. I feel that the children at the preschool learn that, and I just feel that they are better people for it, and I think they've taken it out into the community with them and has achieved greatly. I think our preschool was excellent.
All right, at this time, I would like to call forward MLA for Needham, Susie Hansen, to bring remarks.
It's your sisters, buddy. It wasn't me. I swear to God, it was your sisters.
Well, this is what happens when you're in a room of family. People just start talking and you just feel comfortable, right? I wrote notes and stuff, but it was already talked about because I'm truly honored to stand up here as the MLA for Halifax Needham, but as well to be in a room full of people that I know and love and care about and that have watched me grow up. I'm sorry, I'm just getting so emotional because we've seen so many beautiful pictures, wonderful stories. We need to keep capturing this history, and we need to continue to do this within our community because so much of it is lost. I'm not crying because I'm upset, I'm crying with joy, tears of joy, because it's really wonderful to be in a room full of people that love each other. And I think, you know, that's what the preschool stood for, caring for each other, loving each other, and doing the best for each and every one of us in our community. So I want to say thank you for having me come here and be part of this celebration. But as well, I'm touched and honored to be in a room full of people that I love and care about, because this is my community, and I'm just so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. It's okay. It's all right.
Next on the program is a video of Grant Kerr's story. Unfortunately, Grant is not able to be with us today. Grant is sick. Speedy recovery. Grant was an individual. Sorry. Grant was one of the individuals from Brunswick Street United Church that worked very closely with the preschool. He was, can I share these? Or is it in the video? About the It's in the video. Okay. Well, Grant was the individual who was able to track down a very special doll to have at the preschool for the students.
The Brunswick Cornwallis Preschool, which was a unique and bold attempt to bring together people from different communities. And I cherish these documents now. And they're a wonderful reminder not only of what was, but what is now because of what was. Yes, this was a big deal, to find black dolls for children. We had to work really hard at getting the stores. Certainly along Gottingen Street, they were hesitant to get a black doll because they wouldn't sell. No one would want them. That was the image. And so we pushed and pushed, and then finally decided to move out of downtown to the Halifax Shopping Centre, which was the big shopping centre in those days, and pushed really hard, and finally got one of the smaller stores to bring in 3, I think. And of course, unknown to them, a couple of us arranged to buy them, and we did. Mm-hmm. And then they bought in a dozen. The Brunswick Cornwallis.
Now I'll invite you to watch Ardith Downey's video.
My favorite memories, you could see me over at the Commons with them playing over there. I used to just love to go out there and let them run and push them on the swing. And we went on bus trips, we went on picnics on the bus. We would go down to Point Pleasant Park with them. Mm-hmm. And then we would go over to Dartmouth on the bus. And sometimes we took them on the ferry. Is it in Herring Cove where the big fort is? The
York
fort.
Rideau?
York
York
Rideau.
Rideau. Yeah.
We
Wow, you got around.
We went out there the kids went around, I'm telling you. The kids went around. They enjoyed it, along with the teachers, you know.
Yeah.
I can remember going over, sitting on the grass over there with them at the public gardens. And, you know, you could tell it was kids from the North End rather than down in the South End. People would look at us. They would look at us, especially when we had, you have all these black kids and then could have been 5 white children in the center of them, and they would look at us and stand there and look, you know. We paid no attention, children didn't pay no attention to it. They just look at it and stand there for a minute, then they walk on. I have seen people come and take pictures.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. I think it provided a lot of outlook and helped the young kids that went to that school of looking at life in a better way than what they would have if they didn't have that.
And before we move on to Myra's story, I'm just going to add a little bit more of my story with Brunswick Cornwallis Preschool. It was in the 1980s that I was actually asked to be the executive director / teacher of the preschool program because Myra Bailey was going to have to take a leave of absence to deal with some things. And so I stepped up to the plate and was executive director, well, acting, because nobody could fill that role, acting executive director, teacher, and a board member on behalf of Brunswick Street United Church. So, oh, and I'm not interviewed as of yet because Anne has told me that I have to wait 20 years to be the same age as the ladies that have already been interviewed. So, I don't know if my section will ever be added to the... Anyway, Myra's story, please.
It was an interracial program. Even the helpers, they had to be white and black. We was white and black. Now, during all that time, I never heard of all the years. We never heard not one child say anything against one of the other. As soon as they got into the school, just like they were knitted, you know, they were knit together, and you never heard call one out of their name or one of the, never, not in my 20 years. And I really, 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 I couldn't get over it. I often said that the parents were the ones that kept the preschool open. I think it was a chance at that time for blacks and whites to get together, not even thinking about the other person's color. It wasn't that was my thing about the preschool. We never thought that there was no racism, none of that during the preschool days. I think that's one of the legacies. Another thing is that we opened the door, the preschool opened the door for them to put a 4-year-old program in the school system. The most enjoyable thing that I found that I did was when I worked with the preschool children. Yeah, I enjoyed that more than anything.
I hope that as you're watching the videos and you're hearing the stories, you're also recognizing what an extraordinary job it was to do in that time. This had never been done before. And yet these were, not only did you have to find teachers, but you had to have parents, both black and white, that were prepared to say, we're going to put our children together. We think it's the right thing to do. That wasn't easy to come by. But there was a lot of leadership, and there was a lot of folks stepping out by faith saying, we're going to do this because it's the right thing to do. And so, as we look back on it now, I looked through some of the minutes from one of the meetings, and, you know, bringing kids together to create a greater understanding, discovering a wider understanding of the world with respect with other people, understanding children's cultural heritage. Like, these are things that, yeah, they're part and parcel today, but in a preschool, and not in '63, that was revolutionary stuff. And yet, our parents and these teachers and directors understood that that's what kids needed to do to be productive students within society. If anything, we can take a hell of a page from what they did, the trailblazers that they were, the change makers that they were, and, you know, and luckily enough that you're here today for us to be able to do that, because it's huge. It's huge, and it's not huge on a Halifax scale. It's not huge on a Nova Scotia scale. It's huge on a national scale. So thank you.
Now we're at the part of the program that we are going to honor individuals, teachers, prominent board members that were a huge part of the preschool. Catherine and Arthur Verrill. Juetta and Charles Coleman.
I know you didn't plan this, but you're in touch with those guys, so you can make sure that it gets to them.
Perfect.
We'll make you do the steps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just the messenger, don't shoot me. Heather Coles. Meredith Downey. Myra Bailey. Jean Skinner. Being accepted by her daughter Shelley. Rose Adams. Roland Crooks. Peter. No. Oh. Yes. Roland was one of the photographers, along with being a Dallas Psych student. He was one of our photographers. Dorothy Norvell. Bernice Borden. Geraldine Clark.
Betty Struggle.
Grant Kerr. Rena Bailey. Clara Strugno. Reverend Renford Bryant, Helen Bryant, Reverend J.C. Mack, Mrs. Lopes, Lelia Grant, Lloyd and Jean Shaw, Mrs. Dorrington, Muriel States, Lorna Hustis, Lillian Strugnall, Evelina Upshaw, Reverend Rod McCauley, Deacon Richard Simons, Deacon Sidney Jones, Frank Wellard, Fran Howell, Lise Fillmore, Helen Hoskins, Kay McDonald, Irene Duff, and Elizabeth Hyland.
And we're now going to see Heather's story. So, you look at the video monitors.
We did put on a concert, and as far as I can remember, it was to raise money for the school. I don't even really know how much we raised, but when Helen and I raised, the parents were very much involved. We had at Alexander School in the gym. I can't even remember everything that we did to raise that money. I think maybe we had skits and things like that. And I do know that we ended up singing United We Stand. And that was all of us. And I never seen the kids and the parents, everybody felt so proud when we ended the show that night with singing United We Stand. And I never will forget that because, gee, I felt so important myself. I don't know. Well, I think me and Helen felt so important that we had pulled that off. It was.
So before we move on to the grand finale, we just want to again thank the Department of Education, the Black Cultural Center, Joseph House School, and before we all leave today, and before you really hit the reception table, there is a table that has what we are calling enrollment sheets, and there are binders that have old school pictures. What we're trying to do is help finish the documentary is to fill in as many of the blanks as we possibly can. If people recognize students or staff or whomever, if they could just kind of fill in the blanks for us, we'd really appreciate it. And there's also a guest book. If you could please take the time to sign your name to that for us.
I got the feeling everybody in here, everybody knows somebody that's going to be in one of those pictures. And collectively, we can get all those names.
So now for our grand finale.
Oh, don't start yet, sorry. Sorry. No, no. Sorry. Oh, yes, I forgot. How can we forget the children? Yes.
So, I'd like to invite the children to come up for singing. And the former teachers. Okay, now we're good.
And there's nothing in the world that I would rather see than your smile.